Hello, everybody. Welcome to the January 26th Trips and Traps. Richard Migliori and Andy Serling.
We got 3 races, but I think really races that illustrate inter-track trips, good and bad.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that last weekend the track was very fair, especially on Friday and Saturday. Sunday, some question about the rail being whether it was the best place to be, but a little ambiguous because Horse in the Rail did well late in the card. But we're going to look at 3 races from Saturday, and we're going to start out with the first race, and we'll show a pretty exposed horse in the number 3, Have Another. I think this is a horse that both Richie and I feel he's more than just a horse that's likely to break his maiden next time out. He might be a horse that has a little bit of a future.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I thought, a couple of things led to his defeat here, steadying at a crucial point. And he certainly was ridden with a lot of confidence early, wasn't Andy? Pablo Fragoso sitting very quiet on him.
Yeah, he was. Like, he knew he had horse. But then, when I don't even know, when you and I talked about it, what happens, he'll actually steady in here. And I guess what happens is Pablo decides, I want to get off the inside and go around horses. But you're going to see very shortly he's going to steady. And Richie, I mean, you know much better than I do. It's kind of like he loses his flow.
Well, absolutely. And he loses momentum at a critical point where you think about the separation that the winner, who's on the lead, getting that kind of unencumbered trip, is able to put on between him and the eventual runner-up, Have Another. I thought that was the critical moment that cost them the race.
I agree, and it's amazing. With Have Another is way out there. He's wide, and it was a fair racetrack, so I don't think the wide hurt him as much. I mean, a ground loss, but didn't hurt him as far as being as track. And this horse is going to lose this race by less than a length to, as you point out, a very well-meant first-time starter, a 2-to-1 firster that shipped up from Sagamore Farm, Horatio de Paz, and Have Another levels off and runs very well. And this was coming after his first dirt race, a sprint, where he had significant trouble behind a horse that went down. And, you and I talked about it a little bit, and I've actually talked to his trainer, David Donk, about whether or not he's a horse that wants to go longer or not. I think the general feeling is, right now at least, he's a better closing sprinter.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward. I mean, in a perfect world, 7 furlongs, obviously he's probably going to run on the inner track again, so he'll get 6 another time. But coming to the 8th pole, that's when it looked like he finally hit his best stride after having steadied and having to come out around horses. And I just love his rhythm. He's got a terrific way of moving.
Yeah, I agree. I like this horse, and I don't. We're not declaring him the King's Bishop winner just yet, but I think this is a horse that has the potential to go on and move himself up into some of the higher echelon races. We'll see. A long way to go, but he may be okay.
Yeah, I think he's better than just your average maiden. I think that's the point you're making. And you know what we should say? Horatio de Paz. This guy does good work.
He does very good work, and he came up here for a reason. He didn't run down in Maryland where he could have run in a 7-furlong race, and he had speed. We'll see how he is. You don't want to knock the winner, but Have Another's the one you want the most, I think, going forward.
Sure.
As we turn our attention to the 4th race, and this is a perfect example of the start, how much it changed a race, because the number 4, CARTHON, who we'll look at here, he was the lone speed here had he broken. But as you see, he stumbles the start. He gets sort of shuffled back between horses. And, Richie, this is a case where the entire shape of the race changes, because not only does CARTHON not have the lead and is he taken out of the race and is he always out of position, but I think the 7 horse, ZONIC, with Kendrick Carmouche, got a much different trip than Kendrick wanted, because Kendrick probably expected to see ZONIC out front, create some separation, and he was going to get a spot. And I think that Kendrick, riding as well as he is, said, you know what, I'm in a bad spot here. I've got to get my position going forward. But tough in this situation.
Definitely tough. The post position hampered him. And Kendrick's a sharp guy. He looks over one of the horses that projected to be the speed. CARTHON doesn't break well. So he's got to take it upon himself to go forward, because there's not going to be that separation you hope would be created if 2 horses went on.
And you can see, now CARTHON's got this position sort of back there, but he's lost all chance, because his chance to win was to break and dominate the field. And we'll talk about him in a minute. Kendrick is really riding ZONIC along, because I think he's aware, what is he going to do? Horoscope is loafing on the lead. I've got to get myself in the race. And I thought ZONIC actually fights well to finish, considering he was totally taken out of his game.
Totally taken out of his game. And I think you're right. Kendrick's looking at the horse in the lead who's cruising. And if Horoscope didn't win with this trip, boy, I have a hard time seeing him win going 2 turns on the inner track under any circumstances. But you see, Kendrick's put this horse to an extremely long drive, and quickly getting back to CARTHON, he dragged Gallardo into the race. I mean, after that poor break and being wide, his day was over.
Yeah, I mean, he lost all chance. It's not Gallardo's fault. It is starting to be a problem, though, with CARTHON, that he has gait issues. So I'm a little worried about him going forward, because he just seems to cause his own problems. This is really the 2nd or 3rd time in his short career he's done this. he had no chance to win. You can draw a line through it, but is he going to get out of the gate cleanly? Whereas even ZONIC, he gets passed here by the eventual winner. He never gives up, Richie, and I like that about him.
No, he never did give up when the winner, who got a tremendous ride from Rajiv Maharaj, saved every inch of ground where he could, came out when he needed to. He had every right to maybe even blow fourth at that point, and he kept trying, almost came back for second. CARTHON's interesting with the gate. And when you watch that head-on and you circled him when they were in the gate, he's kind of paying too much attention to the assistant starter. He's turning his head and he's kind of looking up this way. He's a horse, if I was riding, I would ask to be alone within the gate. I think he's more preoccupied with the man handling him than he is on what he's supposed to do.
And that's something they can do. They don't have to have a guy.
Oh, they don't have to have a guy. And if I was riding him, I would ask specifically, let me handle him myself unless there's an issue I don't know about.
Very interesting point, because he is a horse that has talent, that's been hampered by his gate issues, and if they could get him to break, I think he's a horse to watch going forward. That's CARTHON, the number 4. And the 7, ZONIC, as well, who ran well to finish 3rd in this race. Race number 7, I want to look at 3 horses. One of them is Sky Chaparral in the rail, who doesn't break, but I'm just a little tired of Sky Chaparral. I know he had the rail, but he had his chance after that. Proletariat, the 3 horse in those turquoise silks for Castle Village, he was making his first start of laugh. I think he got a very good prep into him. And keep your eye on the greenish there. That's the Zilla horse, Benevolence, who ends up finishing 2nd. And you'll see him dropping back. He's sort of around the 6 horse there in those green and black silks. Benevolence is the one that should have won this race. And I say that having bet the winner, and I think I was a little lucky.
Well, I agree with you. Benevolence just never had any kind of position for the inner track. He's caught wide. The winner 4-set gets the aggressive ride from Kendrick Carmouche, a horse turning back in distance that makes the lead sprinting. How's he going to get beat from there?
He can't. And it was once again, and he was the 3rd fastest horse early. And what did Kendrick do? He left with a purpose. While Benevolence is out there wide, keep in mind, Proletariat getting that good prep into him. And Sky Chaparral, you're going to see him cut the corner, get in the race, and have no finish in here. Maybe he wants to run clear on the outside, and maybe that's his best chance. Benevolence. Benevolence caused himself some problems to start the time before. This is a horse that has real gate speed. And I really think this is the difference between the riding of Kendrick Carmouche on the winner and the riding of Eric Cancel. And I don't want to keep beating up on Eric, but Eric has been very effective when he's been aggressive in the past. He is not being aggressive in this situation, and he isn't aggressive enough. And I think this horse could have been much more in the picture early, Richie, and he probably wins.
Well, he needed to be, and then he wouldn't have been caught wide every step of the way. You think about him losing by half a length. How much ground did he lose the entire turn? I mean, listen, if you're coming from behind, of course you're going to have to come out, most likely at some stage. But to be caught wide every step of the turn on the inner track, you cannot win unless you are monstrously the best.
Right, and get yourself into some kind of position. And by not getting position going forward, he just ends up in no man's land. And here in Benevolence, he may well win next time with a fair trip. If you bet him this time, though, you have a right to be frustrated because you bet the best horse. But 4-set was the best horse that got the best ride.
Well, certainly, he took advantage of that aggression. And again, when you get a horse that has all that foundation from longer races and you can make the lead sprinting, that's a tough combination. And that's something that Kendrick Carmouche obviously recognizes.
Well, he realized that one of the inside speeds wasn't going, and he knew the other speed outside of him had a rider that's not that aggressive, and he said, you know what, I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and that's one of the reasons that Kendrick's successful.
Well, and you know, it's interesting watching horses warm up. That's what I do. That's my thing. Benevolence warmed up very moderately. 4-set left the pony with Kendrick Carmouche and warmed up as though he was going to do exactly what he did. And I think that is the benefit of watching horses warm up to me, maybe getting into the riders' minds and how they may approach a particular race.
Well, the best thing a rider can do is not be predictable. And it's the riders that are unpredictable that can be the most successful, because you don't want everybody to always know what you're going to do. You want to surprise people.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You can't be... it's not cookie cutter. You've got to change things up.
Yeah, you've got to mix it up a little bit. Anyway, we can always use your help. The email address is trips and traps@NYRInc.com.